What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. So guys, do you know that we Jamaicans and Africa were given fake freedom, democracy and independence? So guys, let's watch this video until the end, then I'll come back with more comment. I'm your host, Team TC Reaction. Remember to give this video a thumbs up and a like.
Did you know that in 1834, the Jamaican people, the Africans that were enslaved here, were tricked into fake freedom? Yes. So what happened is they told them that they were going to free the slaves, that they were being freed. But that was a fake freedom because the land that was stolen from their ancestors was not returned to them. The labor that they lost as slaves that would have enriched them was not returned to them. And most importantly, their intellect that was stolen by keeping them ignorant was also not returned to them. So when the so-called slaves were freed, they were simply free to go and beg a job from the existing landowners and wealthy people on the island. So that was a fake freedom. Then 100 years later, they gave them a fake democracy, the right to vote. One man, one vote, they told them. Again, our people were jubilant and excited because they thought they were really getting something. But that too was a fake democracy. They were able to vote, but they could only vote for the people that the colonial masters sanctioned as being okay. Worse than that, there was a governor that was appointed by Britain to sit over the whole process just in case anybody slipped through the cracks and want to make real change. So that was a fake democracy in 1944. By the way, that's 100 years from so-called freedom or emancipation in 1834 to democracy or the right to vote in 1944. You see the trick? If you were free back then, you should have been able to vote and have your own government, but that wasn't the case. It was a fake freedom. In 1944, they then again created a fake democracy, the right to vote, but somebody else behind the scene is controlling who to vote for. That's the same system you have today. Now they've made minor changes. Every time that we revolt, burn down some plantation, do some things to make them uncomfortable, they modify the trick. So in 1834, the trick was you're free to go beg a job. In 1944, the trick was you can vote, but for who we say you can vote for and with our backup guy in charge as governor. Now, after 18 years of that fake democracy, they then crystallized the whole thing into a fake, listen to me, fake independence, where they say, you're now independent, but we're going to keep our monarch, king or queen, as head of your country, and we'll give you a governor general who will sit there, look like you guys, but will really represent us, the colonial masters. And we'll have a privileged class in your society, the richer, wealthier ones, who we're going to use through your politics to control who gets elected. We call those the PSOJ oligarchs today. Back then, they were the plantocracy, those who owned the big agricultural estates. So that system made sure the rich and powerful control the electoral process. The entire process is still beholden to the colonial powers, and of course they will control you with loans and grants from their colonial empire. Okay, so that system from 1944 is still with us in 2024, except that the governor is now called a governor general. He's no longer a white man, he's a black man who is really protecting the colonial interest. And the colonial power sits as our head of state, as our monarch, and the plantocracy is now the PSOJ oligarchs that uses their money to control who you get to vote for. Yes. Did you know that these two parties were brought into being to destroy Marcus Garvey and get rid of his political party, which was more focused at the time on protecting the interest of the native Jamaican, the African Jamaican, the people who were fighting for their freedom. They got rid of that and gave you two fake options who may sometimes sound very much to be on your side. but they're not on your side. They're fighting to keep a system in place that is colonial, a master-slave economic system that enriches a few at the expense of the many. That's what we have today. So remember, fake freedom in 1834. 100 years later, fake democracy in 1944. And still, the continuation of that system codified into a fake constitution in 1962 called the Jamaica Order in Council, or the Jamaican Constitution in brackets. It's a fake constitution. Now, those same two parties from 80 years ago that has helped to maintain the system, that same two-party is now going to give you a proposal and say this is a reformed constitution. They may even call it a new constitution, but don't believe them. It will be a fake republic, just like it was a fake independence, a fake democracy, and a fake freedom. They're now going to push on you a fake republic. So what they're going to do now, they're going to take the existing governor general that used to be the governor, and they're going to change the title of that to president. But nothing much is going to change. It will just be the same kind of governor general figurehead up there. And even if they made it an executive president, what does that mean? How will that really help us one way or the other? You need to go beyond the optics and go for the substance, not just the form. It's time for us to move beyond being uninformed and unintelligent about our system and learn what's really going on. That's why the UIC exists. That's why I exist. My purpose, our vision as a movement, the UIC, is to educate you, empower you, so you will understand what was done to us in the past, so they don't get to do it again to us in the present. We must protect ourselves from the fake politicians, the misleaders, those who are working for our enemies, who are working against our interests, but pretending to be working for us, telling us that they love the poor and all. Don't fall for it. So here's what you need to know. In the current constitution, the Prime Minister is really the top dog. He controls everything. He nominates, or rather appoints, 13 members of the 21 senators. The opposition leader appoints 8 of those senators. It means the Prime Minister has the majority of senators and the opposition leader controls the rest. Why do that? That is so partisan and is so unhealthy for democracy. Why not have the parishes elect one person or 2 persons each as senators for their parish? That's what the UIC is proposing. Let's have independent elected senators instead of partisan political appointees who then are there to do the biddings of their respective parties or their party leader. Let's do away with that colonial model and have independently elected senators to defend and protect the interests of their respective parishes. Also, in the current system, the Prime Minister gets to appoint some members of the Senate into his cabinet as ministers of government. Wow, what a convoluted thing, because what you have just done now, you have undermined the credibility and created a conflict of interest with your senators being both senators and also members of the executive branch. The same thing is done with the members of parliament. You have the Prime Minister being able to appoint MPs to ministerial position. This creates a conflict of interest because the MPs and the senators are supposed to oversee and hold to account the executive branch, but now they're mixed up in it. The UIC will change all of that. We will have independently elected senators and we will have no MPs serving as ministers of government. Instead, what we're going to have are what we call subject matter experts. These are persons who are qualified and competent to serve as head of departments or head of ministries. So a transport minister will be somebody who's qualified for that. A healthcare minister will be somebody who's qualified for that. And what we're going to have is the executive branch of the government, the nucleus, with an elected president, nominating a qualified person for each of these positions who are outside of the Senate and outside of the House of Representatives, and then have the Senate vet them publicly and the House of Representatives vote them in. So now you'll have transparency and you will have quality. And that's one of the ways in which the UIC is going to fix the problem. There's a lot more, but join me on June 9th on One Jamaica TV or UIC Liberty TV on YouTube to learn more about how the UIC Jamaica is working for you. We're Jamaica's third official political party, and we're more than that. We're a movement to protect the life, liberty, and property rights of all Jamaicans.
So a police officer just gave me a ticket for running the red light. I know I didn't run the red light. I don't run red lights. And I didn't even feel, you know how sometimes you trying to rush to catch the amber? It wasn't even like that. I know I went through green and it turned orange while I was going through. And everybody that he was giving a ticket, it was for the same reason, for going through on the amber. And I was gonna make a big stink about it and come on here and talk about this system and how these police officers are incentivized. And so I don't know if it's end of month and maybe him trying to get him quota up or something, and so him just a issue ticket, because you have two different types of officers. You have those who just issue tickets, and then you have the ones who try to get money off of you in them hand, right? And then I thought, you know, I'm gonna report this. But then I know this system that we live in. I know that that's not going to go anywhere. It is pointless for me to try and report him, because at the end of the day, this system wasn't designed to protect us, the people. I am tired of constantly talking about being tired of this system. I'm just ready for something else. And the problem is that a lot of our people aren't ready for something else. A lot of our people don't even see that there is a possibility of something else. I'm not talk about the party, the other party. Come no one say no come on my page and tell me about vote UCI's J or whatever them name. I'm not talking about that, because they're gonna be another political party under this same system that we inherited from the British people. I'm not talking about that, right? The only group of people in Jamaica who can save us are the people who are claiming indigenous heritage. The Maroons are the only people who are really in a position to save us from this system, this oppressive system that we have to live under. The problem with the Maroons is that, like every other group, like every other black group, can't get it together. Even amongst them, there is disunity. Why are we always struggling to do what we know we're supposed to do for ourselves? Why? The truth about it is that the rest of Jamaica finds it difficult to even take Maroons seriously, because they've made us believe that we don't have indigenous rights. They've made us believe that we have to accept this system that has been passed down to us by the British. They make it seem as if we cannot reject it. This entire world system, they make it seem as if we cannot reject it and there is no other option. But mainly because people hold on to this system so much. And you know why I don't hold on to it so much? Because of money. Money, I know God, I don't hold on to it so bad, and I cannot think about living a life without the things that them telling you that you don't need, or you have to have them at the cost of your freedom. And so me have to suffer in this system because you don't accept it. That is just the truth about it. And it is such a debilitating position to be in, because I say fuck this system and you don't love it up. More time I just say, I wonder if I can go a space go live. Where can I go to avoid this oppressive system? Where can I go and live and be free? I constantly I tell myself I need to get out of Kingston. I need to go and live in the country, right? And even if me go and live in another country, me still have things to deal with, because me just see another maroon sister in the other day I talk about how the government take our land where our ancestors them buried upon. They're literally building the highway through their graves. There is no respect for the dead here. There is no respect for our ancestors. And they know that the people don't give a shit, so they continue to do these things to us. Because we don't care about our ancestry. We don't care about ourselves. We don't care about each other. So they're going to continue to oppress us. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of having these conversations. I'm tired of looking like the angry black woman. Like, honestly, I just want to be soft. I just want to pick some mango and sit down at the river all day and have a good time. Like, honestly, I just want to enjoy life. Because I don't believe that this is my birthright. This cannot be what I came here for. I'm tired.
Greetings to our Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Michael Holness. I was one of the many that was rooting for you to be elected. I thought it would have been easier for you to relate to us as young people. Mr. Prime Minister, I see a lot of people are bash you, but 7 brothers, 7 different minds. Me believe say a man supposed to get him credit if him work for it. So with that being said, I have 4 words to describe you as our Prime Minister. And nobody no need to agree with me. These are my 4 words and this is my opinion. My first word is disrespectful. My second word is incompetent. My third word is egotistical. And my 4th and final word is unfair. Mr. Prime Minister, maybe you're a good person, who knows, but as a leader, you're toxic, and Jamaicans deserve better.
So the audacity for British people to be commenting on videos of members of parliament stating that, you know, the UK government is going to send aid to Jamaica. The audacity for them to be commenting, what do we owe Jamaica? Why can't they look over themselves? Oh, why are we always helping other countries? We need to worry about ourselves. What do you owe Jamaica? What do you owe Jamaicans? Let's think. What do you owe Jamaicans? Maybe your life. What do you owe Jamaica? What does Britain owe Jamaica? Everything. Everything. The entire population of Jamaica are descendants of slavery. Slavery that was perpetrated by the British, who kept us all on an island, decimated our identities, our souls, our languages, our spirituality, our fucking minds, our sense of selves, everything. And you're asking, what does Britain owe Jamaica? Not to mention that Jamaica is basically still a colony of England. Not to mention the Windrush generation that you brought over here to fix your blood clot economy, to fix your bumper pussy Ross clot economy, only to treat like dogs, only to spray paint wogs go home outside their doors. Real thing that happened to my family, by the way. Only to then, years later, try to revoke citizenship and deport to Jamaica when everybody who moved here from Jamaica was promised citizenship. What do we owe them? What does Britain owe them? Are you actually okay? Hurricane Melissa has been very devastating. Thankfully, my family, as far as I know, is okay, but it's gonna take a while for Jamaica to recover from this. Like, you know, Jamaicans are resilient people, but damn, you know, it's hard. Like, I can't even imagine experiencing extreme climate like that. It's crazy, because one good thing about living in England is that we don't experience any, like, crazy natural disasters. People lose their mind over a bit of gale winds.
Mr. PJ is trying to slam the Andrew Holness-led administration. I do respect Mr. PJ, but it was under your government Jamaica crash. Poverty skyrocketed to almost 50%. The murder rate moved from 400 straight up to 1,600. The dollar spiraled out of control. Literally, interest rate went up. Everything went up. Inflation was like 70% and a year government, sir. Listen, give a personal experience. And a year government meat, see food without meat. My grandfather have to fry up chocha with fat. For put pan if you try to mitigate the circumstances. My grandfather have to go up in a hilltop at one pint. Cause look while you have to feed way. Chicken back, throughout the week, chicken back on Sunday. To the pint now one time I see chicken back, me frowns on it. Like the scent literally sick me too much, me consume it. From back in my boyhood days. So please, Mr. PJ, I think you need to just relax yourself, go home and make the most credited administration in the history of Jamaica do their work, sir. Because the data that you're speaking does not back this up, sir.
Question to the Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the Jamaican people, please listen to the end and drop your comments.
Wonderful, lovely Jamaican people, yard and abroad. Anywhere over the globe, when the one son is a Jamaican, blessed love. And one says that anybody, not just Jamaican alone, one says a human being, big up yourself. But me I go run some numbers and then we I go reason for the numbers them when me run. Alright. $136. That's a US, you know. $136 a US a day. Them work when you work per hour, cause American them work per hour. So when they are American you work per hour, you get a $17 per hour, and for the 8 hours it would have calculated to 136. Alright, we are gonna run another number again. $16,000. Bear that in mind, you know. 136 for the day in America at $17 an hour. We are going to run another number. We are going to run 16,000 Jamaican dollar. You see me? And we are going to run another number, you know. You see, for the year, if you work 16,000 Jamaican dollar for the year, you are going to end up with 76,800. 700. We are run another number, you know. We say 768,000. And then we are going to run another number. We are going to say $28 million. When we say 136, when we say $28 million, when we say $16,000, and when we say $768,000, I'm going to explain all of them now. You see the first, we are going to start with the 136. 136, that's a US dollar. That's how people work for the day in the US. $136 our US citizens them work per day at $17 per hour for 8 hours per day. I go put it in at the 40 week. I left only to check the 40 week. You see what I say? Alright, Jamaican minimum wage workers them work $16,000 per week. Alright. The Prime Minister get $28 million per year. Minimum wage worker get $768,000 per year. So I show you the difference, you know, between the politician where I get $28 million and the minimum wage worker where I get 700. I want to be exact, you know, it's 768,000. So minimum wage worker for the year don't get $1 million Jamaican dollar. Listen to me carefully, you know. In a Jamaica, working at minimum wage, I'm going to check it at $16,000, you know. I check it at $16,000. I'm going to check it at the 15. You see me? I check it at 16. You see me? So my question is this now. To every well-thinking Jamaican people and every wise people in Jamaica. You see me? Do you think it right for the US, where the US citizens them work in America for one day can cover where a Jamaican person work for the whole week? You see me? And it go over like $100 US. You know? Remember right now, today day, in a today day and age, $100 US at $16,000. You see me I say 100 and American people for them one day, the America $130. You see me? So them still for one day still work a whole heap more than where we work in Jamaica. You see me I say? And me I want to ask Mr. Andrew Holness this. How you fear get $28 million for the year and the people them just get 700? Them even get $1 million minimum wage worker. Where you are do so much, fear get so much money. You see me I say? That me I ask. That's one of the questions them me I ask. I mean I ask now again. Do you think it right for the government officials them where does drive around in a government pay, go taxpayer vehicle, live off a taxpayer money? The same minimum wage worker, you know. You see the same minimum wage worker we are work at them I pay the taxpayer money and all of them things. And the government I get $28 million for the year and him just out of him. Out of him, poor people taxpayer money. And then poor people just get 786,000. And me I wonder if it makes sense. So me I ask all of the well-thinking Jamaican people, whether you are labourite or you are PMP, once you are working at the working industry in Jamaica, me I ask you if you don't think it right. You see me I say, right now everybody in Jamaica want to strike, want to top work. Anybody will work on bum buckler minimum wage for top work. Because we all me see the people and go so and beat down the place. You see me beat down the place when the man say I put on $1,000. Me I say, yo, them people are wicked and blood clot, you know, and then you gotta have some idiot fool dunce, fully blood clot dunce Jamaican people that go run back at them and say, yo, them a do something good. Them a do something good, Father God. If God was like man, remember me telling you, you say any day God becomes like man, remember me telling you, because that me I try to show you, and then I go say, do something good for the people of the country. Do nothing good for the people of the country. Do the statistic. Run the numbers them. Just run the numbers them. You see me I say if an American can work $130 for the day. You see me I say $130 American for the day, you know. You see me? And that can cover your week's pay. You see me? And we not go down in a broken down that money there and say, alright, let's see if we can work out and make the money make sense. You work $16,000 for the week. You live. You live call it say you live up Augustown, and you live at Jedites. Alright, and you work downtown, or you work halfway tree, or crossroad. You see me I say, how much a day for tax money? How much a day for taxi fare? Going to work and coming back from work. How much a day for lunch money? Out of your $16,000 for you eat throughout the week. You see me I say, you have 2 youth for go to school. How you balance out that? You have light bill for pay, you have water bill for pay, you have internet bill for pay, you have land tax for pay. You see me I say, you still have food for buy at your yard. Tell me how to work out that. Make it make sense now. Mr. Prime Minister, more you go back on the drawing board. Mr. Andrew Holness, you and your team where you advise every team where you advise them want to go back on the drawing board and make this make sense. Me I tell you, say, boy, Jamaican people need to wake up, you know, because I say enough of a bum buckler fool and idiot. And I say I'm an idiot. You don't have no sense. If you don't listen to them things and then I pay for them and I make them make sense, you don't have no sense. Believe? You never know until you know. I'm out.
Which is the colonial legacies. And of course, a lot of people say, well, come on, colonialism is over. It's been, several decades since independence, but we have the unfinished business of decolonizing economic structures. So I focus on the economic structures that actually produce the results that we're looking at. So when it comes to the colonial role that was imposed on the African continent, it can be summarized in 3 basic points. Number 1, we're supposed to be the place for cheap raw materials for the industrialized world. We still play that role today. Number 2, we were supposed to be the place that consumes technology and industrial output from the global north. We still play that role today. And number three, and most importantly, we're supposed to be the place where obsolete technologies, assembly line manufacturing that is no longer needed in the industrialized world is outsourced to us under the label of development, cooperation, job creation, technical assistance, all of that. But effectively what it does is that it permanently locks us at the bottom of the global value chain. That was the role we played during colonial times, and unfortunately that is the role we continue to play today. So colonialism, of course, was not a system for development. It was not designed to achieve sustainable development goals or a just transition or justice or anything. Colonialism was a system of extraction, of abuse. We should not be surprised that the same colonial structures, economic colonial structures that persist today are producing these bad results of malnutrition, of poverty, of socioeconomic exclusion. So that's why in the context of the just transition and the context of decarbonization, we always say we cannot decarbonize a system that hasn't been structurally and economically decolonized yet. And when it comes to kind of the visible manifestation of these problems, the issue of external debt, that is debt denominated in foreign currencies, in dollars and euros. It is a serious problem because it takes a huge amount of fiscal policy space that doesn't allow our governments to invest in the building blocks of development and prosperity, such as basic health and education and infrastructure, because we have to prioritize paying the external debt. But external debt is actually a symptom of deeper structural issues that have colonial roots. Number one, food deficits. Number two, energy deficits. And number three, manufacturing deficits. And I can explain each very briefly so we can understand why these are fundamental. When I say food deficits, according to UNCTAD, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Africa today imports 85% of its food. 85%. When less than 100 years ago, during colonial times, we used to be the breadbasket for colonial powers. And what happened is that there's a redesign of the system as soon as we gained independence. In 1955, for example, in Europe, at the Treaty of Rome meeting, the Europeans said we have a food security problem for Europe because they were so dependent on Africa. And that introduced the common agricultural policy, which is in place to this day. So what is CAP? It's heavy agricultural subsidies to produce the core crops in Europe, such as corn and wheat and soybean and the core food security items. And of course, it wasn't just Europe that did that. It was the United States, Canada, Australia, the former Soviet Union, which is why Russia and Ukraine today dominate the grain industry. And what it did is that it forced African farmers out of business because they couldn't compete with the subsidized wheat and corn coming from the global north. So we had to redesign our agriculture to specialize in cash crops for exports. Coffee, tea, tobacco, bananas, all the complementary items. So today we live in a world where we consume what we don't produce and we produce what we don't consume. And that's why we have real food insecurity on the African continent and the rest of the global south, obviously. So that's the food deficiency. Number two, energy deficiency. When I say energy deficits in Africa, I include our biggest oil exporter on the continent. Nigeria today imports 100% of its gasoline, not by accident, by design. Angola, our second largest oil exporter, imports 80% of its fuel from international markets. So we're constantly denied the technology processing, the technology for drilling, the technology for refining. So we export crude oil, we import refined petrochemicals. You export the cheap stuff, you import the more expensive stuff. So you're always in a deficit situation. And finally, the manufacturing deficits, the fact that the only type of manufacturing base that we were allowed to have is the kind where we have to import the machines, we have to import the fuel to power the factories, we have to import the intermediate components to be assembled with low-cost labor, and we even import the packaging. So we end up with the value-added content of what we export is low value added, what we import is high value added. So you can double, triple, quadruple your exports. You're always locked at the bottom of the value chain. And here's how it's manifested. You have these structural deficits, the most fundamental areas. As you know, no country can function without food, without fuel, without manufacturing. So we have structural trade deficits. And what structural trade deficits do is that they weaken our currencies relative to the dollar, relative to the euro. And with the weaker currency, Anything I need to import the next morning, whether it's food or fuel or medicine, you import it at a higher price. So we literally import inflation in the most sensitive areas of the economy, therefore hurting the most vulnerable people in society. And that immediately forces our governments into a defensive position to protect the most vulnerable. So what do? We subsidize food, we subsidize fuel, which makes sense to protect the most vulnerable, but you can't do that for 8 decades. And we ask our central banks to stabilize the exchange rate, to fight inflation. And the way they do it is by using a band-aid solution, which is borrowing more dollars. And that gets the external debt into a vicious cycle that is unsustainable, which means now the government is completely obsessed with prioritizing economic activity that will allow us to earn dollars as quickly as possible so that we service the debt. And we deprioritize economic activity that is actually transformational, that is actually the foundation of development and prosperity. And that is the essence of why we neglect so many of the priorities. And that's why a lot of the fiscal policy space that our governments have is dedicated to servicing the debt, which is by design the colonial architecture that was imposed on us. So that's why we say we can't really achieve the sustainable development goals or a just transition or any of the goals that we want to achieve under a system, an economic system that's still structurally colonized when we have
Hello guys, welcome back. I hope you have watched the full clip. So let's interact in comment section if you really view that we were given fake democracy and independent from this message. I really agree that we Jamaicans, we Africa, we were given those three things. So guys, this is the message that has been waiting for so many years, because people, they don't know how our colonizers are still in our country, how their system were being put in place. You will find that most of other African country, Caribbean country are still using the British constitution. Others are using the European constitution. This shows that these colonizers are still in our heart. You have seen how this guy is trying to tell us how this fake freedom and fake democracy and independence were given during 1854 to 1944 and also to 1962, because Jamaica got independent in 1962. And then after that, you have seen how this guy is trying to tell us the structure of the government, and that's why they gave out what they call it, the governor. So the work of the governor at that time, it was a white person. This white person, his or her work was to protect the interest of the Europeans. But after that, now in 2026, 2025, whatever, we have the black governor and the structure has not been changed. That's why you will find that the Europeans are still in our country, and that's why these Europeans, they are not even, they don't want us to develop, they want us to really suffer, and that's why our countries are still suffering because of this colonization. After seeing how Jamaica were developed, we had the Queen Elizabeth and King. It was the still system, and I know this system is still working in most of the black countries, because we have not realized that these colonizers are still in our country, they are still in our resources. Why is this that these people, they are very much interested with Jamaica? Because we have seen so many Western country interested so much in Caribbean country as in Jamaica, because number one, Donald Trump, when saw that Jamaica is working with Cuba, he started threatening Jamaica. Why? Another thing, when Chinese came to Jamaica, Chinese, they are good people, they are really wants to a country to develop. Why is it that those Western countries like United States wants Chinese to leave Jamaica? It's about the colonization. It's about the bullying. So these people, they like to bully we as the black people. And that same round, I know that very soon we will come out and reclaim our victory. We are nearby to reclaim our victory, to come out and really reclaim our victory, because we were given this fake democracy, and this fake democracy is really affecting our developments. Because when you go to our country, still our leaders, they are a puppet, and that's I can just say for free, most of our leaders are sellout leaders to these European countries. And we know that we black countries, with the Jamaica, with the Caribbean, Africa, we have our own resources. We can really use these resources really very well and make our country look great again. But Africa has been ranked and one of the richest continent in terms of the mining gold and whatever gold reserve and so many things, but it has turned to be the poorest continent. It's because of this colonizing system. That's how I really love these around 4 countries: Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. They have done a good things of erasing all the colonial system in those countries. And that's why these people, when they see those are black, when they see any brave leader, they just want to eliminate that brave leader. And that's why they're really targeting those countries, but all attempt has failed. And that's why I love how Jamaicans, they really came out and support for the Africa during the assassination attempts towards Ibrahim Traore, and also those president of the Niger, Mali. This is the good sign that now black countries, they have been waking up. They want really to fight for their rights, because we want our full reclaim. So guys, before I conclude, we want the full independent. We were given false independent. That's why our brothers and sisters are crying in those countries, because of this, what we call it, the AIDS and whatever. These programs that were given by these Europeans, they were just to rob from Africa, to rob from the Caribbean. And that's why we want our full democracy, we want full independence, we want the freedom that we can speak anywhere we can speak. Because you, as a black people, when you go to any country in European countries and study talking about those countries, you will be really arrested at that time and being charged. And that's why these people are really targeting for the black countries. They are in Venezuela, they are in Congo, they are in Haiti. So they are targeting the black countries. I haven't seen any European country targeting any European. I haven't seen United States targeting France, targeting Russia. They always against the black countries. So I emphasize for the unity among the black people, among the black countries, to come together. If we see any attack from the European country to any black country, we must stand up with solidarity. We must do whatever we can do to protect our country. Thank you so much for watching me. I'm your host, Team Tesi Reaction. If you really love this video, remember to subscribe, like, and also comment and give this video a thumbs up. And all full credit goes to the original creators of these videos. Bye for now. See you in the next one.